you guys. I'm coming to give you guys an update on the testimony of Capricorn Clark. She is on the stand today. They took a lunch break, so I'm coming to let you guys know what happened so far this morning. She revealed a lot, and in the beginning of her testimony, she started with the focus of what happened in the Kid Cudi situation, and she talked about that. So I'm not gonna say too much in advance. I'm going to read the transcript to you guys and let you see for yourself what is going on. What I got from it so far, I don't really want to spoil it, but I am going to say what I got from it so far. She is an accomplice, and in a way, one of the things that I didn't like in her testimony this morning so far, the lawyer asked her why did she decide to come forward and say something, and she said something to the effect that she had read Cassie's lawsuit and it was devastating for her. Something like that, right? But also in your testimony, you talk about how you were there when Cassie was getting stumped out. So tell me how you're more devastating reading about it than you were when you actually physically seen it happening with your own eyes. Make that make sense? I feel like people make the story fit to make themselves look good. And I just got to be honest of how I feel. I'm sorry. I told y'all, if y'all hear the cat cries in the background, I got a new kitten, and he's very spoiled already. He won't stop crying for me, but it is what it is. Okay, so yeah, I feel like a lot of these people, they, try to make themselves look good in a situation. And if they are telling some, of course, it's because they got a profit deal and things like that. You knew a lot of this stuff was going on and you didn't say anything. And you said that when you read her lawsuit, that's what triggered you to want to say something. But how? How? You should have been devastated when you witnessed him putting his hands on her. Okay? But let me get to this transcript. As I always tell you guys, there will be errors in the transcript. Inner City Press is the one that covers it in the courtroom. Shout out to him. He does an amazing job. And like I always say, if it's not for him, we probably wouldn't even get as much information as we're getting. He is in the courtroom and he's trying to get the information out to us as fast as possible. So there will be grammar mistakes. So I'm going to try to work around that if there are any. Also, a lot of words in this testimony may be explicit. So I'm going to try to work around those as well. Bear with me, and I'm going to try to get through this transcript as fast as possible. Okay, let me get back to where I need to be. Okay, so it says the government called Capricorn Clark. They asked her, where did you grow up? She said, born in San Francisco, moved to LA, worked for Def Jam, then Death Row Records, a late 90s gangster rap label. The government said, what was your relation to Suge Knight? She said, he is the father of my friend's child. The government said, then you worked for Sean Combs? She said, yes. He is over there in the blue sweater. I worked for him from 2004 to 2012. The government said, were you kidnapped? She said, yes. The government said, when did you first meet Mr. Combs? She said, when I moved to New York City in 2002. We were super platonic friends. A headhunter said I should work for him as a personal assistant. I did until 2006. The government said, your duties? And Capricorn said, shadow him from wake up. So I guess just shadow him around all day and see what he need. The government said, then what? And Capricorn said, head of women's for Sean John. The government asked how long? And she said, a year. Then global brand director for Sean Combs. Name and likeness due to diligence to grow the brand. Then I was terminated until 2016 for Cassandra Ventura. The government said, did you work in this building? They showed her a photo and she said, yes, we moved there in 2005. The government said, your first day, where did Mr. Combs take you? And then she said, Central Park, after dark, along with Uncle Paulie. He looked like a linebacker. I wonder if they asked her that. The government said, does this photo look like him? Capricorn said, no, he doesn't have on the blackout shades he wore all the time. The government said, what did Mr. Combs tell you in the park? And Capricorn said that since I worked for Suge Knight, if anything ever happened, he might have to unalive me. And of course, the defense said objection. The judge said overrule, proceed. The government said, how did you take it? Capricorn said, seriously, I had gravitas. And the government said, how did you react? Capricorn said, I said I didn't have anything to do with that stuff. And of course, another objection from the defense. And the judge said sustained, Miss Steiner. And so basically, I guess instructed her to move on. And the government said, what was Polly's role? Capricorn said, all aspects of Mr. Combs' movements to keep him safe. There were also D-Rock, Roger Bonds, and Ruben. The government said, who's D-Rock? Capricorn said, a good friend of Biggie Smalls, running back type of body. I wonder if they asking her to describe the body types, because the way she described it, it's a whole football team, okay? But let me keep going. The government said, did you ever observe Mr. Combs with a... Oh, I got to block that out. And she said, yes, in my home. And the government said, and did he talk about it? And she said, Mr. Combs, told Chris Lighty he had a pow. He had a problem with 50 Cent. Trying to see what that mean. Maybe the wording is off or something, but I'm gonna keep going. The government said, were you ever accused of stealing? She said, yes, it had jewelry. It had been given to me it was on a loan. The government said it went missing, and Capricorn said yes. And the government said, what did you do? Capricorn said, from Teterboro, I called 1440 and told them to lock it down. The government said, what did Uncle Paulie do? And Capricorn said, he questioned me 3 hours. The government said, you went home? Capricorn said to Queens, yes, with Uncle Paulie. He searched my house. So I'm not really understanding what is missing in this script, because obviously something missing, because the questions and answers is not making sense. But I'm reading to you guys what is here. They asked her about her ever being accused of stealing, and if you remember, I don't know if it was Kid Cudi that talked about it, or either Cassie in their testimony about Diddy saying something about jewelry being missing. But when they asked her that, she talked about her own jewelry coming up missing or something. So I'm not really sure what happened in between this, but we're gonna keep moving on. The government said, where did Uncle Paulie take you? And Capricorn said, 1710 Broadway. It was dilapidated. It was being fixed up, but I didn't know that. Uncle Paulie took me to the 6th floor. The door was locked behind us. There was a 6-foot folding table and a heavy-set man. And the government said, can you describe him? And Capricorn said, 5 of me. So basically, that's how big he was. He was 5 of her. 2 linebackers. He was chain smoking. Honey, this sounds like a movie almost, like something that you'll see on a movie. And so the government said, did Uncle Paulie stay? She said no. Intermittently, he came back. The government said, what did the heavy-set man say? She said, I was there to take a lie detector test. The government said, what did he say? What did he say would happen if you failed the lie detector test? She said that they would throw me in the East River. Of course, y'all know an objection came after that, and the defense asked for a sidebar. So they had a quick sidebar. And the judge said, after that, they came back. The judge said, you can proceed. And the government said, what was his demeanor? And Capricorn said, very serious. I was terrified. The government said, did you want to be taking the test? And Capricorn said, no, I was afraid. The government said, how was the test? Capricorn said, wires on you, and they questioned you. Did I steal? Or I guess they questioned me, did I steal? But that's what is down here. And the government said, did he tell you the results? Capricorn said, he said to calm down, that he couldn't get a good reading and he might have to throw me in the East River. And the government said, anyone else was in the building? And Capricorn said, not to my knowledge. The government said, could you leave? Capricorn said, no. Paulie said, no. And the government said, what did Paul say at the end? Capricorn said that he'd come back the next day to figure this out. We started again another lie detector test in the same location all day. And the government said, were you free to leave? The Capricorn said, no. The government said, how long did this go on? Capricorn said, for 5 days. So they literally sat there and put her on a lie detector test like made her do a lie detector test all day for 5 days. The government said, "Did you tell anyone where you were?" Capricorn said, "No, I was just trying to survive it. I worked under an NDA." And the defense said, "Objection." The judge said, "Sustain. Jury should disregard the last answer." And the government said, "What would you have been doing?" And Capricorn said, "Shadowing Mr. Combs." The government said, "What happened after 5 days?" Capricorn said that I could return to work, that Mr. Combs would see me the next week. And the government said, "Did Mr. Combs ever discuss it with you?" Capricorn said, "No." The government said, "Why did you continue to work for Mr. Combs?" And Capricorn said, "If I left, they'll think I stole." How would they think you stole some if they just did a lie detector test for 5 days straight? At this point, obviously you ain't going to East River. They must knew you didn't do it. Like what? Honey, look, let me just keep going. The government said, what? Like I told y'all, I feel like people explain it in a way that don't make them look foolish, because anybody gonna ask, why did you continue working for him? How they gonna think you stole something if you stopped working for him? They know what they did to make you not work for him anymore. You could stay there, but of course you got to make yourself look good. I told you, I'm calling out these accomplices and these co-conspirators and anybody that story just ain't adding up. I'm calling it all out. He didn't do all this stuff alone. He's exactly where he needs to be, but he didn't do it alone. They need to be held accountable for the parts that they played in this mess too. Because everybody not saying nothing for years and years allowed him the room to continue to victimize new people. Okay? Let me keep going. The government said, "What were your days like?" Capricorn said, "From his townhouse at 74th Street and Park in the morning to Daddy's house studio at night." The government said, "How much sleep did you get?" Capricorn said, "On a good day, 4 hours. On a bad day, 2. I got a stress condition. I was paid $55,000. The government said, "Did you get paid overtime?" Capricorn said, "No." I spoke to the head of HR. She said I was owed $80,000. And the government said, "How did Mr. Combs respond?" Capricorn said he ripped up the paper. The government said, "Would Mr. Combs stay at hotels?" Capricorn said yes. The government said, "With whom?" Capricorn said, "With Kim Porter once a week." The government said, "What names would he book the room under?" Capricorn said, "Frank Black and Frank White." The government said, "And his girlfriends?" Capricorn said, "Jackie Starr." The government said, "Where did he stay?" The Capricorn said, "Intercontinental Buckhead in Atlanta, Beverly Hills Hotel in LA." The government said, "What were in his bags?" Capricorn said, "A camera, small bottles, a baby oil, small bottles of baby oil, and the other stuff people use. I don't know if I can say it on here, but liquid stuff, adult shoes, okay? And cameras every time. Oh, she said he had all that in his bag plus cameras every time he went to those hotels." And so the government said, I don't know what they was trying to say, but this, like I told y'all, the grammar, I guess they're trying to say, "What would you be doing?" And Capricorn said, "Watching TV, ordering room service, keeping up on sleep. Afterwards, I sweep the room for anything left behind." And the government said, "Any damage?" And Capricorn said, "Baby oil." If y'all remember in I believe it was last week's testimony when it came out about the damage that he would do to the hotel rooms from having his parties in there. Okay. The government said, "How frequently would Mr. Combs stay in a hotel with Cassandra Ventura in 2008? Capricorn said, "Like once a week at Hermitage, the London Intercontinental for several days, the IV drips." The government said, "Did he speak to you about his relationship with Miss Ventura?" Capricorn said, "Yes. Miss London was there. Chef Jordan in the other room. He called Cassie over, asked her to walk there, hand me that, go back in the other room, and she did." I'm trying to see what they handed her. Am I missing something? Like I told y'all, it's the grammar mistakes. I'm not sure. And so I'm just gonna keep going. Yeah. The government said, "What did he say?" And Capricorn said that he told her, "You bees won't do that. That's why you don't have a man." And the government said, "What did you say?" And Capricorn said, "You're MFing right." That's what she responded to him. A girlfriend in New York. Okay, so no, the government said, "Did you observe Mr. Combs obtain drugs, substances?" And Capricorn said, "A girlfriend in New York, in LA, and from one stop." And then she also named the type of rugs, which was X. Can't say the full name. The one that rhymes with Polly. And yeah, that's it. And she said it was delivered to Puff or to me. And the government said, "Did he ask you to get substances for him?" And she said yes. The government said, and in south of France, and they asking her, did she have to get it in south of France? And she responded, "He asked me to get the, look y'all, it's another one, the baby powder, okay? Y'all know what that is." I said, "For who?" And the government said, "Why?" And she said, "I wasn't going to do it, given how my mother passed away." Why would you think? I'm just going to keep going. And the defense said, "Objection, sidebar." They asked the judge for a sidebar, and they went to a sidebar. They came back, and the government said, "Who did Mr. Combs say the substances were for?" And Capricorn said, he said, "Not me." And the government said, "Did you get them?" Capricorn said, "Yes, through the Spanish security guard. He also get prescription substances in my name. They were in the toiletry bag I'd carry, or security." See what I'm saying? Accomplices. They was doing these illegal things with him, and then they get up here and try to paint a different picture just to make their story look good for them. Okay? Let me keep going. What about bulk cash? That's what the government asked. And she said, yes, $100,000 in euros coming back from Europe. And the government said, where did he get it? And Capricorn said, club bookings in Europe. He'll keep it, then give it to security, then into his bedroom personal safe. And the government said, violence? And she responded, yes, fighting. The government said, was Mr. Combs violent with you? And Capricorn said, yes, at Star Island. He told me, you are not to leave this house. Pharrell Williams was brought in by boat. I remember Mr. Walker. I returned Mr. Walker to Palm Island. He called and said, where the F are you? You can't have a life. How's somebody going to tell you can't have a life? Man, they let him do too much stuff to them. Like, I don't know how he got away with this type of stuff, y'all. But let me keep going. She also said, Capricorn also said, one time I asked the chef if there was any turkey bacon. She said, no, effing turkey bacon. I said, I hate it here. The chef told Mr. Combs, and he pushed me again and again. And the government said, what did he say? And she responded, he said, if you hate it here, get the F out of here. And the government said, did you leave your employment? She said, I did. The government said, but you returned. She responded, as global brand director. And the government asked why. And Capricorn said, he was impressed by what I did in the job I left for, a couple of albums. He said, you wouldn't have to work directly for me. So you came back? This is what I'm talking about. If a lot of this stuff these people are saying are true, why do y'all leave and then come back? Like, I don't know, y'all. Look, let me just keep going. The government said, what were you doing for Miss Ventura? Capricorn said, managing her image, maximize the optics for her. For Sean Combs, he had the final approval on everything. And the government said, in LA, where did you live? And she said, a gated community. We had followed Kim Porter there. I don't know why, like, some of the responses just ain't making sense. Because what Kim Porter got to do with it? They asked her, where did you live when you was in LA? And she said, a gated community. But then where do the part where it say we have followed Kim Porter there? What that got to do with anything? I'm not sure yet. But let me keep going. The government said, where was Miss Ventura? Capricorn said in New York City on West End, she will come to LA and stay with him or with me or in a hotel. The government said, who else was Miss Ventura seeing? And Capricorn said, Scott Muscudi, Cudi. And the government said, how did you learn that? And she said, she brought him to my apartment. And the government said, what did she say? And Capricorn said, she texted me they were going to this public place in LA. I told her it was a bad idea and to delete the text. And the government said, why? And she said, if Mr. Combs learned about Mr. Combs paid for my phone and hers. So basically, he could see their phone activities. And so Capricorn also said, I took Cassie to Best Buy to get a burner phone. The government said, when did Mr. Combs return to town? And Capricorn said, not long after. He took Cassie to a hotel in Cipriani. I guess that's how you say it. And the government said, and then Capricorn responded and said, December 22nd, 2011, between 5:30 and 6 a.m., there was banging at my door. The government said, what did you see through the peephole? And Capricorn said, a furious puff. And of course, again, the defense said objection. The judge said, ask another question, Ms. Steiner. And the government said, what was his movement? And Capricorn said, pacing with something in his hand. The government said, did you open the door? Capricorn said, I did. The government said, what was he wearing? Capricorn said, a button-down sweater and some torn pants, and he was holding a pow pow. He came into my apartment and said, why didn't you tell me? Who is Scott? I said, I don't know any Scott. And the government said, what did he say? And Capricorn said that Diddy said, we're going to this N-word. And so the government said, where was the pow pow? And Capricorn said, in his hand. I said, I didn't want to go. He said, I don't give a F what you want. Get dressed. So the government said, what concerns did you have? And Capricorn said, he never come to my house. And the government said, did you try to escape? Capricorn said, no, I got dressed. The government said, who joined in? Capricorn said, Ruben, in the black Escalade executive class. The government said, where was Ruben? And Capricorn said, in the driver's seat. I got in the back seat, right hand side. Mr. Combs was in the left next to me. Usually he would have sat in the front. The pow pow was in his lap. The government said, how long did it take to drive from your home to Mr. Cudi's house in Hollywood Hills? And Capricorn said, if you push it, 15 to 20 minutes. And the government said, what did Mr. Combs and Ruben do at Cudi's house? And Capricorn said they went in. And the government said, could you see in? And Capricorn said, yes. The government said, what did you do? And Capricorn said, I called Cassie on her burner. I said, Cassie, what the F are you? I told her Puff was in Cudi's house. Then I changed her number in my phone to best friend Stormy. The government said, what did you hear on the phone? Capricorn said that Scott was at Cassie's house. The government said when Mr. Combs came back, basically asking her what happened when Mr. Combs came back to the car. Diddy came back to the car. And Capricorn said, he took my phone and called the last number. Then I saw Cudi driving up. Mr. Combs saw my face and said, there's that end right there. Capricorn said, we drove off and saw the police driving the other way toward Cudi's. Puff was pulling himself together. We stopped at the Key Club and he told me to call Cassie. The government said, what did he tell you to tell Cassie? And Capricorn said that he had me and wouldn't let me go. So I guess that's where the kidnapping come into play, y'all. The government, well, it already been went in play when he went to her house, banged on the door and told her to get dressed. So that's where I'm guessing that started. The government said, how did Miss Ventura respond? And Capricorn said, she said, okay, come get me. She was calm. And the government said, who drove you home? Capricorn said, Ruben. And the government said, what did Mr. Combs did tell you? Capricorn said, to convince Cudi not to say that it had been him at his house. I picked up Cassie. The government said, where did you go? Capricorn said, we went to Cudi's and tried to convince him not to file a police report. The government said, what did you tell them? Capricorn said that Puff came to my house with a pow pow. The government said, what did you tell them? He said. And Capricorn said, if you tell on him, he'll hurt us all. The government said, what was Mr. Mascuti's reaction? Capricorn said, mind-blowing. And, of course, another objection. And the judge said, sustained, jury will disregard. And the government said, what happened at the house? Capricorn said he was kicking Cassie again and again. And the government said, how was Cassie? And Capricorn said, in a fetal position. Mr. Combs kicked her all the way to the street. She was crying silently. The government said, where was he kicking her? And Capricorn said, her backside. The government said, where were you? And Capricorn said, 5 feet away. So was Ruben. The government said, what did Mr. Combs say to you? Capricorn said that Diddy told her, he said, if you jump in, I'm going to F you up too. Now, if she have a brick, you keep messing with people not from the hood. You knew what you was doing. Let me keep going. The government said, what did Ruben do? And Capricorn said nothing. The government said, who did you call? Capricorn said she called D-Rock. I told him, tell your brother to stop, Puff. He is kicking the out of her. Capricorn also she also said, I called Paulie too. I said he said, I guess they trying to say he said he'll take care of it, but Ruben did nothing. And the government said, what next? And Capricorn said, Mr. Combs told me to get the F out too. I left on foot. The government said, could you still see her getting kicked? Capricorn said, yes, until I went around the bend. The government said, then who did you call? Capricorn said, Regina Ventura, which is Cassie's mom. And she said, I told her he's kicking the S out your daughter. I can't call the police, but you can. The government said, why didn't you call the police? And she responded, this mission of the day was to get Cudi, so no calling police. I was grandma, I guess she's trying to say her mission was to go stop Cudi from calling the police on Diddy, you know. So the government said, this email, who is it from? Capricorn said Cassie. She wrote that he will be releasing adult tapes about me, and he will have someone else hurt me and Mr. Muscooty. The government said, do you recall if you responded to this? And Capricorn said, I don't. The government said, did law enforcement call you? Capricorn said, the arson investigators. Cudi had given them my name. I hung up on them. I just wanted this over. The government said, what did Mr. Combs say to you? And Capricorn said, he said, I should unalive you bees and I should cut your face. He playing with the wrong. Look, let me keep going. The government said, how many times did Mr. Combs threaten you? Capricorn said, I'd say 50 times. D-Rock was there just doubling it down on whatever Puff was saying in the moment. Of course he was. He need to be having handcuffs on him too. Anybody that was involved, all of them. Okay? The government said, who is Harv Pierre? Capricorn said, the president of Bad Boy Records. I told him Puff had kidnapped me. The government said, what did Harv Pierre tell you? Capricorn said that he said, that's crazy, but it's going to be okay. I got a termination notice. I was accused on not properly putting in for the vacation I was on. The government said, had you put in? And Capricorn said, yes, to Harv Pierre. The government said, did you lose benefits? And Capricorn said, all of them. Health, 401k, my house, and car. The government said, what did Mr. Combs say? And Capricorn said that I would never work again, that he would make me unalive myself. The government said, did you get a job offer? Capricorn said, I did, but it fell through. I couldn't get another job. And the government said, did you settle with Mr. Combs? Capricorn said, in October 2012, and before she got a chance to finish, the defense said, objection, can I approach? And they did a sidebar. Okay, and they came back, and the government said, aside from that settlement agreement, do you have any other pending litigation against Mr. Combs? Capricorn said no. The government said, did you go back to work for him? Capricorn said, in 2016, no one else will hire me. Cassie had a new record deal with Epic. The government said, who did you have to get approvals from? Now, this is her third time working for him. I'm just saying. So, nobody posed a question that. Fishy to me. Like I said, people they create a narrative that make them look innocent and like a victim. Baby, you was there. You witnessed all the stuff he did, but you kept going back. And obviously, you got some type of settlement. So, you talk about you couldn't get a job. You got a settlement. Why you ain't take that money and go do something with it? I ain't trying to hear it. These people, they know what they doing. Let me keep going. The government asks, who did you have to get approvals from? Capricorn said Sean Combs. Cassie was taking more substances. The government said, was she still dating Mr. Combs? Capricorn said yes. The government said, in December 2023, why did you retain an attorney? Capricorn said, I was traumatized by Cassie's civil complaint. Really? You traumatized by her complaint. And you get a lawyer. But when you was there, you weren't traumatized. And you went back to work for him. After eyewitnessing what he had done. And so you want the courts, the jury, and everybody to believe that you was traumatized, but you went back to work for him. Make it make sense. You was traumatized when you saw her lawsuit, which I'm sure by you worked for him all those years, you seen more things than you are able to even tell us that he had done to Cassie and other people too. So you saw more than what's being talked about today. So stop playing games in people's face. You probably can play games in a lot of people's face. See, people need to stop being gullible and see straight through some of this stuff. These people, let me just keep going. Okay? I'm trying to just get through this without giving my opinion so you guys can hear what happened. So she said, I was traumatized by Cassie's civil complaint. She said her complaint did not reference me. I reached out to Mr. Combs and said, I want my life back. You kidnapped me. He kidnapped you, but you went back. Make it make sense. And it says the defense said objection. The judge said overruled. The government said, was there a discussion of you working for Mr. Combs again? And she said yes, as chiefs of staff. See, look, this is the fourth time. Are you serious? Yeah, I can't do nothing but laugh because like they sitting here playing rain the games. And as much as I hate to say it, I don't know how the government think this make their situation look too good. This witness, honey, I hope she got a proffer agreement. I'm sure she do the way she running her mouth up here. But oh my God, like you went back 4 times and you're trying to say that he was so bad, but you kept going back. The government said, when did you last speak to Miss Ventura? She responded in 2018. The government said, and Mr. Muscudi? And Capricorn said in 2012. The government said, no further questions. The judge said they'll take a break. And the defense said, Agnifilio said, can I start? The judge said, we're taking a break. So they took a break and they came back, and now the cross-examination starts by the defense, which is Agnifilio. The judge said, Ms. Clark, you are still under oath. And then the defense said, we met in April 2024. I guess he asking them, you met Diddy in April 2024. You had a lawyer. Hold on. It say, we met in April 2024. You had a lawyer, Brian Friedman. So I guess Agnifilio met her before. And so Capricorn says yes. Agnifilio said, you wanted to come back and work with Mr. Combs, right? Capricorn said, we discussed it, yes. Yeah. So just last year, you still was trying to get... Let me keep going, y'all. Let me keep going. The defense said, you saw Miss Garagos taking notes. Capricorn said, yes. The defense said, you said you didn't think Cassie was good for Mr. Combs. Why? And Capricorn said, I just thought they were toxic. And the defense said, tell me about when you were in New York. Capricorn said, I was in the Bronx. I hated it. Capricorn also said, it was 2002. I met Jeanette, then Mr. Combs. In 2001 was the World Trade Center thing. Then I met Mr. Combs. And Agnifilio said, he wasn't doing substances, right? And Capricorn said he did I can't say what it is, in Daddy's house. Y'all know it's a substance, basically. And the defense said, but it got worse. And Capricorn said, yes. The defense said, you authorized Mr. Freeman to seek a job for you. And Capricorn said, it was all very procedural, lawyer to lawyer. And Agnifilio said, do you hold on, but you were told you couldn't be given a job in the middle of the investigation. And Capricorn said, I don't remember that. So you still let me keep going. Look, let me keep going. The defense said, read this and let me know when you're done. Do you remember saying you had the biggest crush on him? The government said, objection, fold 3. The judge said, mixed the agnophilia, and agnophilia said, state of man. I guess, given a reason why he asked her that question. And the government said, it is being offered for the truth. And the defense said, we had a stipe on this, and they asked for a sidebar. So, they came back, and the defense said, you called him Choc for chocolate. Capricorn said, I did. And the defense said, you started with Def Jam, Run DMC. And Capricorn said, I don't go that far back. I'm more like Foxy Brown, Redline, Jay-Z. And the defense said, so how did you come to work for Mr. Combs? And Capricorn said, I put my resume on Monster after the World Trade Center thing. He said, you work for me? I was like, maybe. He was acting on Broadway in Raisin in the Sun. I was impressed. And the defense said he had a major part. And then Capricorn said he was a star. And Capricorn also said, then I shadowed him on the Vote or Die campaign. My job was to get the t-shirts on the celebrities and into the photo shoots. I called them and say Puff wanted them to come. And the defense said, and they came? And Capricorn said, they did. The defense said, how long before the jewelry missing thing? And Capricorn said it was about 4 months. On the 4th of July, he threw up a white party at his home in the Hamptons that year with Vote or Die. And the defense said, when did the jewels become missing, or when the jewels missing thing happened? I guess the incident where they did the lie detector test, and she said after July 4th. And she also said the jewels were still on loan from Jacob the jeweler. And the defense said, who else got lie detector test? And Capricorn said Mike B, his stylist. He too had gone to street level, I don't know what that is, street level 1440 for manicures. The lie detector test was the next day. And the defense said, you never told HR? And Capricorn responded, no. I got fired for 3 weeks. Agnophilia said, how did you get unfired? Capricorn said, I went to work on his 35th birthday at Soprani to do the celebrity list. I came back. So you came back on your own. Once again, let me keep pointing that out, because if you paying attention to her testimony, she keep coming back. So you got fired 3 weeks later. You just show up to an event and brought yourself back. But he was so bad. And I'm not saying he was good. My point is, we all believe he was bad. Why did you continue to return? What role did you play? And you was playing a part, and so you are guilty as well of doing something, because you're not going to make yourself look bad. You're not going to tell everything you did. Okay, let me keep going. And she said, I came back for the 35th birthday at Soprani to do the celebrity list. And Agnophilia said from 2004 to 2006. And Capricorn said not all. And the defense said as a personal assistant. And Capricorn said then liaison. And I was making $65,000 for Combs, then $90,000 at Jive. And the defense said, why did you come back to Combs? We all would love to know that. And Capricorn said, I had gotten top records for R. Kelly. Mr. Combs said he was impressed. Asked me to come back for Sean John for women. So that's the second time you said that he felt like he was impressed with your work when you left and went somewhere else and you kept coming back. Like, girl, stop it. She also said, I think I was a really good employee for him. He told, and the defense said, he told you were awesome. And Capricorn said he did not use that word. The defense said, you worked hard for him. Capricorn said, I did. The defense said, others worked hard for him too, right? And Capricorn said, not as hard as me. I did learn a lot from Mr. Combs. And they say she was almost crying while saying this. Said he broke that glass ceiling for us black people in the business world. And the defense said, do you need a minute? And Capricorn said, no, it's just complicated. And the judge said, we'll take a break. At that point, y'all, that's when they end up going to lunch. So the second part of it, I'll give that to you guys later this evening. It was really hard getting through that. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it's been this long. I'm looking at the tab, how long it took me. Probably because I kept stopping and I was trying not to. But when you're reading this, it's like all these things, you're trying to just go through it, especially me telling it to you guys, because the whole point of me doing this is to just get you guys the information so you can know what's going on in the courtroom. But as I'm reading it, it's sparking my nerves and getting on my nerves, okay? With the BS that's going on in some of this testimony. So I don't know how this is going to finish. It's still more questions that we have, and it's more that need to be talked about. So hopefully that happens today, but I will come back for the second half of the day in a little while, and probably sometime this evening, and let you guys know what happened with that part of the testimony. I am about to end it here because this lasted way longer than I thought it would. Going back and forth with who said, he said, she said, and all this. But tell me what y'all think about this testimony from this morning so far. Because for me, I call a lot of BS. I told y'all last week it was going to be very difficult for me to hear these co-conspirators' testimony and not get triggered or just, call BS on the stuff they said. Because you was involved and you did nothing about it, and now you're trying to sit up there like you're a victim, and you kept going back. Hold on, let me guess. Hold on, y'all. Let me guess. Stockholm Central, because that's the word everybody love to use, and that applies to everybody, right? That's what we just gonna run with that, right? Yeah, stop playing with Nellyville. Tell me what y'all think in the comments, and I'll see y'all later on this evening. Bye, y'all.